Trump's attorney slammed CNN's Tapper to his face over why Don Jr.'s meeting was not illegal. Liberals keep hyping up the meeting. First son Donald Trump Jr. had with a Russian lawyer and a Russian singer at Trump Tower last year, and the emails he wrote about it. They seem to believe that these emails will somehow lead to Donald Trump's impeachment. I mean, they're grasping at straws. Donald Trump's lawyer, Jay Sekulow, recently appeared on Jake Tapper's show and said once and for all how liberals are confusing the concepts of unethical with illegal and poured much-needed cold water on their impeachment dreams. Well, here we'll take a look, because I'm not going to repeat what he said, so we can just take a listen here.
Trump campaign dirt on Clinton. Asked about the meeting in this poll, 63% of Americans said
again, phony polls.
Joining me now is Jay Sekulow. He's a member of President Trump's legal team. Jay, good to see you as always. This week, a number of different conservatives expressed disappointment after reading the emails from Donald Trump Jr. in which he expressed glee at the prospect of getting dirt on Hillary Clinton from what he thought would be the Russian government. This is what Charles Krauthammer, a conservative columnist, had to say. Quote, "The Russia scandal has entered a new phase and there's no going back. This is not hearsay, not fake news, not unsourced leaks. What Donald Jr. and Kushner and Manafort did may not be criminal, but it is not merely stupid, it is also deeply wrong, a fundamental violation of any code of civic honor." Are you willing to acknowledge that regardless of the legality here, this was wrong and a violation of civic honor?
Well, look, I deal with the law, so that's what I'm the lawyer for the president. And campaigns involve opposition research. And the situation with the email exchange that was released by Donald Trump Jr. And what was described there is look at it compared to, for instance, the situation with the Ukrainians, the DNC, and the Clinton campaign.
The moment that there's an FBI investigation or Senate and House Intelligence Committee investigations into Ukraine and the DNC and the Clinton campaign, I'm happy to discuss it. But that's not what's going on right now. And I know
isn't that interesting that there isn't one? But go ahead.
Right.
There isn't one because nobody from the Ukrainian government met with anybody from the Clinton campaign. But moving on from that, you're talking about the legality. And I understand you're a lawyer, but you're also a man of faith. Isn't it kind of important whether or not what Donald Trump Jr. and Manafort and Kushner did, isn't it also important whether or not it's legal, whether or not it's wrong, whether or not it's ethical?
Well, you're conflating, Jake, three perspectives here. The legality, was the meeting and what took place legal or not? We, of course, and as almost every legal expert says, it's not illegal. And then you're trying to put a moral, ethical aspect to it, and it's easy to do that in 20/20 hindsight, but not when you're in the middle of a campaign. And again, I'm not a campaign lawyer. I wasn't a campaign lawyer, but meetings were taking place, as Donald Trump Jr. said, 15, 20 minutes apart. This one went even shorter. So I think everybody that's looking backwards and say would have, should have, could have, and Donald Trump Jr. said he would have done some things differently. But to go back a year later and say this is what should have happened when the meeting itself was 20 minutes and a series of meetings that took place for days and days and months, I don't think that's fair to Donald Trump Jr., to Jared Kushner, or to Manafort for that matter, because no one was in a situation of that kind of campaigning in the middle of a presidential election. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions about opposition research coming on all sides, Republican, Democrat, and Independent.
Not with hostile foreign, not with the governments of hostile foreign powers, Jay. I mean, that's not normal. You can talk about opposition research all you want, but a Russian government attorney, that's what this is billed at, with high-level intelligence on Hillary Clinton. I mean, for all Don Jr. knew, that was coming from the FSB, the successor to the KGB. It was coming from human intelligence or signals intelligence. He had no idea where it was coming from. It's not normal Oppo. Normal Oppo is legally obtained.
Well, the Ukrainian, I go back to the Ukrainian example. I know you don't want to discuss it because you say it's not being investigated, which raises a question. But here, in the Ukrainian situation, they actually exchanged documents from a foreign government. So
because Paul Manafort did work in Ukraine, people in Ukraine wanted the United States to know, but that was all from a legal and public
hearing. He was running the. But Jay, He was running the campaign at the time. So, I mean, we're acting like this is some kind of one-off thing that, you know, never happens in campaigns, and you just gave the evidence of exactly what took place there, right?
Nobody from the Ukrainian government met with the Clinton campaign. Again, as I said,
that's not true. There were representatives at the Ukrainian embassy. The Politico report was clear. Go ahead.
Again, I know you want to change the subject. Let's go back to Russia. Donald Trump Jr. was asked this week if he met with anyone else from Russia. This is his answer. Take a listen.
I've probably met with other people from Russia. Certainly not in the context of a formalized meeting or anything like that, because why would I?
Don Jr. saying, I've probably met with other people from Russia. What other meetings or communications with Russians have not been disclosed yet?
None that I know of, but I represent the President of the United States. But Donald Trump Jr. said not in the context of formal meetings. He said he may have met with Russian people, as a lot of people meet with Russian people, so that's not unusual. But he also said back in March, he said that there were no meetings at all in the auspices of the campaign. Now we know that's not true. I thought about that because you and I talked about that the other day on your weekday broadcast. I thought about that, and I go back to and look at, Jake, in the context of a meeting and the meetings and the series of meetings that were taking place during the campaigns. There were dozens of meetings every day, hundreds of meetings every week. This meeting lasted, what, they're saying 15 minutes? It was short, nothing was produced, and it never went any further, and so it wasn't ever discussed again. But let me say one thing that's important here. The president, and this has been unconfirmed, was not aware of the meeting and did not attend the meeting. So I want to be clear on that. But with regard to Donald Trump Jr. did say he may have met with other Russian people, but not in the context of a formal meeting. So,
but you don't know who they are. We now know that there were at least 8 people in that meeting, including a Russian-American lobbyist with alleged ties to Russian intelligence. Just the latest in what Trey Gowdy, not exactly a leader of the resistance, is calling the drip, drip, drip of information about this controversy. What other details about this meeting have not been disclosed?
Well, I want to say again that I represent the president, and Donald Trump Jr. said he disclosed everything about the meeting, but I represent, I'm one of the counsel for the President of the United States who was not involved in the meeting and not aware of the meeting. So from our perspective, my answer stands, and that is the President was not engaged in this, was not aware of it. Donald Trump Jr. made statements about that this was everything. He said that on the air on Sean Hannity's broadcast, and I think it speaks for itself.
So the Trump campaign, we learned this week, paid $50,000 to Donald Trump Jr.'s lawyer. They paid this a day after one of the CNN reporters that was working on the story called to say, what can you tell us about this meeting? Is that an acknowledgement that the meeting with the Russian lawyer that he thought was with the Russian government was official campaign business? The fact that the Trump campaign paid $50,000 to Trump Jr.'s attorney?
Well, look, I'm not involved in the discussions with the lawyers on who paid what entity, and I certainly don't represent Donald Trump Jr. But look, in a situation like this, this is not an unusual situation where the individual that's being questioned or subject to questioning, Donald Trump Jr., retains counsel. It involved in an incident that involved an email campaign and a meeting when he was doing work for the campaign. So that to me is not an unusual scenario or unusual setup at all. But I don't know the final determination of who's paying what bills to whom. I mean, I think that's still in process.
I think a lot of people who give money to the Trump campaign will be surprised that they're paying for the legal bills for Donald Trump Jr. Jay Sekulow, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
How they continuously dig and dig against Trump and totally don't want to admit any wrongdoing on the part of Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's just absurd at this point. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.